So welcome back to another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for giving my son a better life and spoiling him more than his siblings will ever get to be? So make sure you subscribe down below with the notifications on so twice a day DecoyNoise can start fast forwarding your boring things with live Reddit commentary and stories just like this one. So let's go ahead and hear OP out right now. So OP writes, brief background. About 9.5 years ago, my wife cheated on me, got pregnant, and left me for him. Courts gave them full custody of our son because a single dad versus a family. I've since got remarried and had a couple of kids, 7 and 5.5. Ex and her new man have also had 2 more kids. Wife and I both work as engineers and have dang good salaries, to put it lightly. Ex and her new husband haven't ever done particularly well. Ex-wife didn't want me sending my son lavish gifts or taking him on the family vacations so her other siblings wouldn't get too jealous and build resentment towards him, her words. Meanwhile, he was understandably, I feel, upset he wasn't getting a nice life as the other kids were as he got older. He has to come live with me. I said yes, I'd love to have him, but ex-wife said no. Thank God the court sided with what my son wanted. Since moving in, everything has gone fairly smoothly for us. My younger kids love having their big brother around all the time, and he loves them. We still go on our vacations every January. Though had I known how bad the situation was back then, I probably would have held off this year. For his 16th birthday, he got a nice used Buick he wanted. Since then, crap's hit the fan with his mom / my ex though. She's pissed on how much he's getting and getting to do. He keeps on texting and calling both of us about how his younger siblings will never be and able to get all the things that he has, and it's not fair, and now her kids are upset, and how am I a horrible dad for forcing his siblings to resent him? Finally, I told her, I don't care, I want my kids to have a good life, and if she wasn't an adulterer, hers would have had a better life too. Did I go too far there? So as we do with DecoyNoise, we take it to Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction. We'll stop the video and do some top comments, do some controversial comments. I'll read your comments down below, then we'll do that Decoy Deliberation and figure out who the true antagonist is and what the said theoretical punishment for that antagonist would be. But let's go ahead and break it down right now, where I hate how the situation is. How does a situation of OP buying his son things and taking him on trips makes him a horrible dad to somebody else's kids he has nothing to do with? It's like, you know, what is he supposed to say? Like, sorry, my life looks like a P. Diddy music video and your life looks like an Enya music video. Like, what is he supposed to do? Like, does the ex-wife go from, like, you know, every guy that's driving a Tesla and say, hey, how dare you remind my kids that they're not driving this car and they never will? Like, what weird lenses are they seeing life through? And it's just not, no, she's not mad that he's living a good life. It's just the bitterness of your ex doing better than you, and she's just trying to get him to feel bad about it. And the thing is, though, is the whole, you know, at the very end of the story, he says, you know, if you didn't cheat, you could be living this life too. It wasn't mean. Yeah, but like, I'm sick of the whole how dare you fight back mentality where, you know, someone can kind of pick a fight with you, but the moment you start to snap back at them, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you would say that to me, the mother of your kid, or some whatever situation it is. And it's like, you know, it doesn't sound like OP did any of these things with his kid maliciously towards her and her new children, her new family. He wants the best for his kid, and so does the kid. He wants the best for himself. He wants to live there. And the sad situation is, you know, if all his action is making her feel inadequate, then there's better ways of communicating that to the OP than saying, oh, you're a bad father for making all this stuff happen. So as always, we're just judging OP, and I'm going to go ahead and say he's not the antagonist. He's not doing anything wrong for wanting the best for his kids in this situation. Like, he'd be almost kind of worse off for wanting to change it so it wouldn't, like, to try to make it fair for all, like, you know, to punish his son because he shares the mom with a different family. Like, that would be the worst situation. And it's this weird the crabs in a bucket mentality that everybody seems to have. Like, hey, we started in this place together, stop moving on and doing better, like, get back here. If anything, this should just motivate her to say, like, hey, the guy that I didn't think was worth being faithful to, he became successful. So, you know, how about me and the new guy become successful as him? Because, you know, like, it's showing them that it's doable. Like, you know, just see that situation, see him buying the used Buick and going on vacations, and just say, put your nose to the ground and do better. But like always, maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. Earn yourself that Decoy coin by leaving a comment down below and letting me know if there's something that I'm missing, or it's just something that you think that I'm not getting, or just make fun of me. I don't care. Like, I got thick skin. Whatever it is, just take a short break and then let me know what you think down below. But let's go ahead and go over those top comments right now, which are: not the antagonist. They're not your kids, and no one is forcing them to be resentful except her. Keep being a good dad to all your kids and don't worry about it. Which is true. Like, why would he worry about what everybody else is thinking? And then also the next comment is, imagine how much resentment the boy would build up if OP gave in and treated him less than his other kids. The son would resent his parental half-siblings for getting more than him, his mother for demanding it, his father for giving in, and his maternal half-siblings for being the root of the problem. And all that so the ex's precious babies don't feel bad that they don't get as much as OP's son. And that's the thing, is just, it's this weird, like, translation of, like, you doing good is offensive to me. Like, I never understood that whole, you know, like, yes, he's getting a good thing. Why don't you just, like, cheer him on and say, hey, cool, like, I'm glad that, you know, you landed on your feet, and I, like, you know, the affair didn't ruin him, and now the ex-husband can still provide for the son. Like, it's a net positive to your son. Why is this an issue? But let's go ahead and read on the next top comment, which is, my older brother just closed on his first house. I'm really happy for him, but it's pretty unlikely with where I live and what I do that I'll ever be able to do the same by the time I'm his age. I just won't be able to have the same life he has. This doesn't mean that the solution is for him to give up on his house dreams. You don't create equality by forcing people to have less so others don't feel bad. Everyone ends up worse off that way. If you feel bad, you can create more good by thinking of the little things he can share with the rest of his family. Maybe a video game he can play with everyone, or nice snacks he can share, or you can do something, or nothing. You can do nothing at all. It isn't your job to keep other kids from envying your son. It's your ex-wife's job to teach her kids that they can have more to do by working hard and getting good jobs, not the antagonist. And that's true, the whole, like, you know, let's just make this clear right now. Like, my older brother is much more successful than me, has his whole situation with his work, his jobs and his business. At, like, you know, at my age, he already had, I think 2 kids or 3 kids, had a family, and had a house, and had his whole, like, you know, situation set up. I'm not trying to dox anybody with his, like, his business or whatever, but just the idea that it's just like, he's just like, becomes more of like a role model to me, saying, hey, look at him doing all these great things. Now I can sit back and it's very I always make a joke about, like, it's very Jon Snow, where it's like, you know, Jon Snow saw the families, like I guess I'm not the illegitimate child, but, like, you know, he's the tall, chiseled jaw, buff dude that has, like, you know, I forgot Jon Snow's older brother, but, you know, he's that character, and he's all successful, and everybody's, like, you know, leaning into him, and I'm just kind of like the black sheep of the family. But it's not like, you know, I don't need to tear him down and say, well, the only reason you have that is this, and you need to stop making me feel bad about being, like, you know, a burnout or whatever. It's just like, no, we all have different paths, and hey, I'm glad he's successful. I'm glad he's not this crazy, like, drug addict freaking guy that's stealing from my house all the time and just, like, you know, trying to borrow 20 bucks from me every day he sees me. Like, that's the alternative. So why doesn't she just see this as a situation where it's like, okay, good thing he's successful, and I can kind of not pawn off her son, but it's like, yeah, somebody else is splitting the dues with it. Would she rather have a guy that kind of makes her feel bad about not being able to buy a used Buick, or would she rather have a ex-husband that just never pays his child support payments? Like, what's the worst thing? And it's like, don't get mad because you have a good situation. Like, that's my take. That's my 2 cents on it. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Leave me in the comment section, but let's go ahead and read a reply to that top reply, which is, love this. It's not about what hand you're dealt, it's about what you do with it. OP is a dealer, mom is a teacher. OP can be a teacher too. And this is a great example of how OP would not be the antagonist for not doing this, but it's a nice idea. And just the idea, like, it's not his responsibility to make the his ex-wife's new kids feel a particular way. This is a learning experience for the kids, for the mom, and then her new husband to say, hey, look, you know, it's not fair, but life isn't fair. It doesn't mean that you guys can't persevere and make it to the top from where you're at right now. Like, how many billionaires were people that were, like, homeless at one point in time? What was it, J.K. Rowling, a billionaire for writing books about wizards, was living in a car with her kid? Like, you know, those stories, everybody loves that story. Nobody loves a story where it's like, you know, people seem really pissed off that Kylie Kardashian is a billionaire because her family's rich. It's like, you know, whatever, they're still hardworking people. I'm not a big fan of knowing everything about that situation, but just the idea that it's just like, you know, people will admire you more if you came from nothing. So, you know, this is a good learning experience for the parent to tell the kids, not like, hey, look at what an antagonist my ex-husband is. Look at all these things he's doing to make you guys feel bad. Don't you resent your half-brother now? Like, that's a weird situation to kind of go through. But let's go ahead and read the next top reply, which is, not the antagonist. You're right. She made her own damn bed. Of course or maybe it's of effing course, I don't know, OFC, your kids should get treated the same by you as your other kids, and it's amazing you're doing so and have done so. All along, it seems. Want to have words with my ex who doesn't treat our son the same as his kids with his now wife? She's basically asking you to treat one of your kids different to the others, total screaming the opposite of what a mother should want for their kid. She's being a nightmare here. No wonder your son wanted to live with you, luxuries aside, which makes sense where it's just like, maybe it was just this kind of bitter resentment where like they're living and all they're doing is like, reflecting on the ex-husband and the OP and just being angry about it or whatever. It's like, I always cross my arms to signify I'm talking from someone that's spoiled, but let's go ahead and read one more top comment. So he says they're quoting the idea that the younger kids love having the big brother around and he loves them. And then they say, this, above all other things, this makes you not the antagonist. You're providing for your son and family, and that's commendable. He's also giving back by being a good big bro. It's not your responsibility what your ex thinks or does. You are not responsible for her emotions. And the idea that it's like they say, oh yeah, they're calling us out because the younger siblings will never get what the older brother is, and they say they will never move out, get their own cars and families. Also, what a sad and twisted thing to say, putting only value on material things, saying that now her kids are upset, it's not your problem, and calling him a horrible dad. No, she's doing that all by her lonesome, where she's just calling him a horrible dad because it's kind of shining a spotlight on maybe her lack of judgment or her failures or her maybe not necessarily anything that actually happened wrong, but just her feelings of inadequacy where she perceives herself as less than OP because he's not be able to support, the son by buying him a car, by taking him on trips, and, nobody likes the spotlight shown on them. Like, I've made lots of mistakes in my life and, things that you wish you could take back, but you just reflect on them and be saying, okay, man, maybe I wish I tried harder in school, or maybe I wish I never left that job, or whatever the situation may be. But it's just like, you just take those as learning experiences. You don't like think of those and just be like, oh man, I'm angry at it. Like, you just, it's all in your perspective. You need to be able to realize you're human and you make mistakes. Her, in this situation, seems like, hey, she makes a mistake, she feels bad about it, but she just wants to tear everybody else down so they feel bad as well. But let's go ahead and say top comments are for perspective, controversial comments are for fun. So let's read that top controversial comment right now, which says, not the antagonist, not your problem that you couldn't keep your legs shut. And I think that's an oversimplification of the situation where it's like, oh yeah, she shouldn't have cheated on you. Who knows the other circumstances? I'm not advocating that she should have cheated on him, but it's just like, we don't know that side of the story, so we're not going to judge them on that because that really hasn't been illustrated. And if OP probably illustrated that portion of that story more than they did, saying, she did this and this is what happened, it would have seemed like, okay, now he's just being vindictive. He wants to get revenge. He wants her to feel bad about things, and it just doesn't seem that's the case. So, is this probably true? Maybe, maybe not, but we can't judge them on that aspect. But let's go ahead and read the next reply to that saying, I know why you're getting downvoted, but giving the context, you're kind of right. She cheated and she's getting what she deserves. And that's one thing that I'm trying to get away. Although DecoyNoise, Decoy Court is all about giving them that theoretical punishment at the end of the story, it's not about like, you made a mistake, how do we make you feel as bad as possible for it? Oftentimes, the biggest punishment you get is just you living with your mistakes. And that's fine, as long as they can kind of learn from them. But this whole thing where everybody gets like, very vindictive and they just say, let's make sure we parade this, torch, pitchforks, let's go, downvotes and everything, like that doesn't help anything. We're all about trying to have like, a rational, productive discussion about things that, are in that moral gray area. But let's go ahead and read one more controversial comment, which is, another one. Not the antagonist. She should have kept her effing legs closed. Adultery is a criminal act in 21 states, granted it's petty law. But what gets me is the court saw it fit to grant custody to a cheating spouse. I guess I shouldn't be surprised though. Well, I didn't think her mom would try it as we have cordial relationship. I am a single dad, and the thought or worry of ending up in court someday and losing my rights to my child always lays in the back of my mind. My child's mother did nearly the same exact thing. She cheated on me with a guy for 6 months before she finally left. He was married with 2 kids, so the 2 of them destroyed 2 families. It's obvious which persons are lacking morals, but I would bet my life if we ended up court, I would lose my daughter. Money doesn't mean anything at all. I make much, much more than both of them combined. I'm IT security consultant and do freelance web dev, but in the court's eyes, a child needs his or her mother, even if that mother is morally corrupt and will not set good examples for the child. The hardest thing of being a father is the chance that the mother could walk away and take everything from her. So I know what people all probably automatically have a picture in their head of what this person looks like and how they are, but just the idea to me that it's a situation where this guy's in a lot of pain. He's hurting. He's got a whole situation where he's trying to console himself with the idea like, okay, I'm doing well. I'm doing good. See, let me impress all you online strangers with the very particular thing that I do that shows that I'm successful. And let me tell you how she is a terrible person, morally bankrupt because she destroyed 2 families, cheating on me for 6 months. And look, the courts could take the kids away. And I'm so like, it was one of those things where it's like, you know, people oftentimes when they're trying to convince you of something, you always think, are you trying to convince me or are you trying to convince yourself? And you don't want to jump down this guy's neck where he's saying like, oh yeah, you seem like this, I'm gonna label you with this thing, and get all mean to him. But it's just like, this guy's going through something hard. He's trying to convince himself that it's okay and he's gonna do all right. So why do we need to pile on him? He's already, you know, you got to read context. It's like, you know, I always talk about The Wire with soft eyes and hard eyes. Soft eyes see the whole forest, or hard eyes see one tree missing the entire forest. And that's what this is. It's like, you got to look at this story for the context, see where he's coming from, look at the subtle nuances on the way he portrays the story, on how many different ways he reminds you of what a terrible person he thinks his ex-wife is, and how good of a job he is, and how unfair he thinks the court system is. Like, he's not saying it on its sleeve, but this guy is incredibly, I don't want to say you're insecure in a negative way, but I'm just saying he strikes me as someone that's insecure in the situation. Like, he doesn't know if he's going to lose a kid. He doesn't know if he's doing the right thing. He doesn't know why the courts are deciding with his wife. So I'm not going to try to dive into it. And then here the top comment reply to that was, you sound well adjusted and completely mentally/emotionally healthy. And that's the idea, is he probably isn't, because he's in a hard time. Like, you can't expect everybody to be 100%, you know, justifiable and rational when they're going through a difficult time, such as possibly losing your daughter. So we don't need to pile on him. It doesn't seem like they really pile on him too hard, but they did point out, like, you know, he has an insecurity, and it's like, okay, yeah, let's poke at that insecurity. But it does look like he'd made a reply shortly after. So let's go ahead and read that. Gotta admit, I honestly can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. If you are, shame on you for making an insult on my mental health. If not, my interpretation is wrong. To answer though, no, I'm currently not. The situation has me out of work, and I've been waiting on unemployment for 6 weeks now, and I didn't qualify for the $1,200 stimulus check. Financial fueled depression and anxiety is an MFer. So here's the idea: is like, I'm not gonna pat myself in the back, but that was an astute analysis of his situation. This guy's incredibly, you know, insecure, and the thing is though, is like, he's looking at someone making a comment, and it's like, you know, it's hitting him. He's like, what were you trying to insult me? If you are, let me hit you with, like, that's not okay to make fun of my mental health. But also, if you're not, maybe I'm just paranoid right now, which it kind of is. And then also the idea that he's like, you know, he had to brag to you about, I do web dev, I'm this IT specialist in this very, you know, technologically sound way. But if you look into it a little bit more, he's like, I don't have money, I don't have unemployment, I didn't get the stimulus check. Like, he's feeling bad right now. So he's depressed, he's anxious. Why do we gotta pile on? Why do we gotta even point it out? Sometimes the idea of becoming an adult is about being right and not needing to point out that you're right. So even though I'm talking to you guys at Decoy Court watching the video, I would never go to this guy and try to, like, you know, to bully him in the situation of saying like, oh yeah, let me remind you the many ways you're failing right now. But as always, if you made it this far in the video, because we've kind of covered this story, let me know what you're thinking down below. Earn yourself that Decoy coin by giving me better feedback. Let me see the situation in a different light. But if nothing else, I just want to say I appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure you're subscribed with the notifications on, because I am hearing that my subscribers can be subscribed but never see a single video of mine pop up in their feed. Bizarre occurrence right now. Go over to DecoyNoise.com to give me feedback, or maybe submit your own story so we can do a Decoy Koi Pond only video on just your guys' stories. But if nothing else, just put this on autoplay and watch the next Decoy Noise coming up next.